Hi, I'm Mick McCarthy.
I'm Tony Pulis.
And welcome to The Managers.
You have to be adaptable, and you have to make sure that being adaptable is working the best system you possibly can for the players you've got. Kicking the ball out, for me, I've got no problems with that. That's being smart.
Why wouldn't you do it?
They're not paying him to show off and say, well, look what I can do. I can turn water into wine. Because 9 times out of 10, they can't turn water into wine.
I just said, I'm not going to judge anybody on what I've been told, what I've been watched. Let's get out on the training pitch, and then I'll start and judge everybody on and pick the team accordingly. That went well. We lost 9 on the bounce. Hi, welcome back to The Managers, and you can get all the links at themanagerspod.com.
I think the two of us sat round this table this afternoon would agree we were both very, very pragmatic managers, Mick.
I was going to say, what the hell do you know about pragmatism? No, I tend to agree with your version of it. Yes, we were, I guess we were known for being pragmatic as opposed to being expansive and
I think,
football.
the programme talks about being and using common sense. I think going into a football club, if you're working at the level that we work with, and we were always working against the tide, Mick, I don't think there was ever a case, even when I started at Gillingham. Gillingham had finished 91st in the league when I took over them for the first game. So you look at what you've got, what strengths you've got, what weaknesses, what you can use and put together to win football matches. And if that's being pragmatic, by using what you've got and not trying and asking people to do things that they can't do, then I was pragmatic.
Well, I think we've used the other term, haven't we? Common sense. That is, yes, you're being pragmatic, but using common sense. You know, if he's a right back, play him at right back. If he's a midfield player, play him midfield. If you've got 2 great centre backs and flying full backs and wingers, play 4-4-2. Play a system that suits you. Play a system that wins games. And of course, you don't know until you play it.
No.
And if you play the way you want to play and you don't win, I'll change it. Do something to win a game.
Listen, people talk about us being pragmatic. People talk about me managing at Stoke and what we did at Stoke and how we did it. I then left Stoke and went to Crystal Palace. We didn't have the same players that Stoke had, so we had to change. I had to change to get the best out of what Crystal Palace were giving me. And that took a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, to actually get what I needed to stay in the Premiership. Then I go off to West Brom, and again, completely different. At Crystal Palace, I had Balassi and Punch and Wide, 2 unbelievable, very, very good players. Shamak played in the hole, who was a clever player. We had Cameron Jerome, who was very, very quick. So we dropped off, we played really deep, and then we would counter-attack with the pace and the ability of Punch and Shamak. When I go to West Brom, we got no pace wide. So we had to play Gardner and Moz or Brunty as wide players, but they came inside. Inverted, Mick, I think they say today. Well, we were doing it as wide players coming inside. So you're almost playing 4-2-2-2. And we found a system and we found a way to win football matches to keep West Brom that year in the league. So if being pragmatic means that you're looking to work out a system that suits your players and suits the players at that football club, 100% pragmatic and a little bit of common sense.
Well, Tony, I remember going into clubs and Sunderland as much as anything, because we're bottom of the Premier League, there's 9 games to play. I remember saying, everybody's got a reputation at the club. Players have, they've been playing in the Premier League. I just said, I'm not going to judge anybody on what I've been told, what I've been watched. Let's get out on the training pitch. Come on, let's go and get training, and then I'll start and judge everybody on and pick the team accordingly. That went well. We lost 9 on the bounce. Anyway, but that was in the Premier. That was the Premier League, and you know what? Most of them was that they were at the bottom of the Premier League, and most of them wanted to leave. I don't think some of them weren't wanting to play. That was a real challenge. And then when we finally been relegated and we turn it around, I lost the next 2 as well in the Championship. But we brought players in, we brought lads in who we wanted to have a play 4-4-2, yes. And we had our own system, and we had, I always said it, young and hungry who wanted to run around, but wanted to get better because we'd signed them from lower clubs, And you know what? They were brilliant, each and every one of them. And we ended up, we got promoted in the end. But we managed to do that. But if you inherit a club and they've got players where they think they should be playing and not how you think they should be playing, it's a difference.
I find it annoying at times when I hear managers talk about they have a philosophy and they want to do this and they want to do that and they want to play the way that that they think is right. I've never been that way. I've never been that type of person. I've always looked at what material I've got and then tried to work with that material. Philosophies and everything else, you have to be adaptable if you're a manager going into new clubs. And you have to make sure that being adaptable is working the best system you possibly can for the players you've got. And like I say, when managers go in, they say, my philosophy is this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm not going to bend, I'm not going to move. That's about the manager then, for me. That's not about the football club. And the manager is actually not paying the football club are paying the manager. So the football club are paying the manager to get results. They're not paying him to show off and say, well, look what I can do. I can turn water into wine. Because 9 times out of 10, they can't turn water into wine.
Tone, tell me, how often have you've set your team up and you're playing, and then 10 minutes in, you've gone to your assistant, gone, what's happening here? We're getting battered. we need to do something. And it could be just to change the shape, put somebody, man mark somebody, which you don't really want to do, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
You get your wingers and drag them in, and you say, hold on a minute, we've got to change this to get a foothold
in the game.
And it's amazing when you do that, you've given them a problem. Now they're having to change. But if you're just getting battered, you've got to do something.
Yeah, and we've both worked with good people alongside us, and I had Kempy. And Kempy was ever so good.
Mine was Taff and TC. Always.
And Lindsay Parsons earlier, and then Kempy later on. But they were brilliant. They were football people. They understood the game, and they could watch the game. Kempy was ever so good at watching the game and picking little bits out. He'd pull me before I'd go in at half time, walking down to the tunnel, and he'd say this or he'd say that. But they were always little gems that I think only football people can give you, Mick.
Taff was the same. Ian Evans is known as Taff, and TC exactly the same. You could always rely on them to pick something out, because you can't see everything.
No,
I have not come across a manager yet that knows absolutely everything that's going on.
Well, I certainly didn't.
We like to think we did, and after the game, when we talk to the press, we portray ourselves that we have.
And I've sat in dressing rooms, Mick, after games, and we've played exceptionally well. And got battered. I can remember going to Old Trafford and playing really, really well on a Wednesday night. And I mean really well. And Dean Whitehead, who you had at Sunderland, we had Dino there, missed a chance at the back post. Ball comes across the face of the goal and he slides in, and it really, I think, should have scored, but it's gone wide. 2 minutes later, I think it's about the 43rd minute, 2 minutes later, Ronaldo picks the ball up, smashes it in the back of the net. 2 minutes after that, there's a free kick about 30 yards out, smashes it in the back of the net. We walk in at half-time. I'm looking at the lads. They're absolutely devastated. You sit down and you hold your hand up and say, lads, listen, you've done brilliant. But he's a genius. And sometimes, as a manager, you have to accept that. There's been lots of times.
Though, how many times have you played badly?
Yeah,
and you've won.
And that's what I mean. There's so many. There's so
not
many.
Not played badly. Being outplayed. You've been outplayed.
There's so many times I can think of.
Yeah.
And the resilience and the organisation and everything else that you put into a football club gets you through those games.
Which is what we mentioned last time. That's going back to the management of the players, management of the club, management of the staff. The resilience, the toughness, the willingness to work hard comes through being well managed. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and you have certain people along the way. I've always gone for character, and I've always thought that if I can get the right person who fits the system and he's got a good character, then we can improve him within the group. And I made loads of mistakes as a manager over the 1,200 games or whatever.
But we need to be managed as well.
Yeah.
With the club, you need to have a good relationship with the people above you.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, that causes as we've seen this week.
Well, I've said, Mick, the if I'm going into a club tomorrow, if I'm a young coach now starting and I'm taking a job somewhere, the noise now between me and the owners is enormous. There's so many people. There's more people sitting around the table that used to be in boardrooms.
Yeah.
So you need someone in there to tell them what you're doing and to steady the ship down when things go badly. And I think that young coaches today need that, without a question of a doubt. They need, whether it's the director of football or whether it's one of their own people going in, they need to be so close to that person. So that person is relaying stuff from the boardroom to them, and he's relaying stuff from the pitch to them. And you get that, hopefully then you get that balance, and you don't get situations where, lads come in and they fail for 4 or 5 games and then get the sack.
Yes, we talked about pragmatism. We're going to talk about set players, that have always been important, but some people, you in particular, spent a lot of time on it. Rory Delap with a long throw. I'm going to throw myself in there, by the way. Just look up Ronnie Whelan's volley in 1988. Some
of us are not old to remember that.
Of course.
To remember that.
Some of them who are much older than Tony will remember it. Long throw-ins.
Yeah.
And Arsenal have been the ones last season and this season with corner kicks.
Well, just a point on that, Mick. I think when we were doing all of this,
the irony it used to be you against Arsenal,
and Wenger Arsene was complaining about the long throws, the long grass, the pitch being small, and this that. We were being smart and trying to be smart to get results against the top teams. We were looked down on by everybody in football. It's killing the game. It's this, that, and the other.
Excuse me. You weren't looked down on by somebody at Wolverhampton or Sunderland. Let me just clear something up.
But then now Arteta has done it at Arsenal with the set plays, with the corners. And they were, what was it, over 30 goals last year from set plays, or 26 goals or whatever it was. Because it's Arsenal and because they're one of the great teams in this country, great teams in the world, fantastic football clubs. Because it's Arteta, young, up-and-coming coach who's doing what he's doing at Arsenal, and Arsenal, the football club, big club, then people start going, oh, well, that's not too bad. If Arsenal are doing it, then it must be right. So all the praise, and I give him great credit for it, Mick, because he's found another tool to push his team on, and that's what it's all about.
Why wouldn't you do it when you've got Declan Rice, who delivers wonderful balls? You've got about 5 players who are 6'2", 6'3", who are good at it. Then they get the movement, and they're doing all the different things that the free kick coach or the restart coach. Or,
I don't want to go into them.
No, let's not. He's stood at the sideline watching it. Nobody's looking at him at all. If Declan Rice can't stand at a corner kick and deliver it without any information from the coach, there's something wrong. The 5 lads are going to go and attack it, or 6 lads are all big. Just put a good ball in there, block the keeper, and you've got a chance. And even more so now because, what goes on in the 18-yard box is beyond me.
Well, it's fashion. Let's look at when Pep came in and actually turned the game around with, playing through the pitch and, the goalkeeper kicking it out. That was the fashion. Now, all of a sudden, Mikel has brought great success to set plays. It's now become fashionable, and everybody's doing it. The long throws, obviously we did it with Rory with unbelievable success. I didn't have a long throw merchant at West Brom or at Palace, but we did it at Stoke. And we did it because why wouldn't you do it when you got someone, it's just common sense, when you got someone who can throw it as flat as Rory did, and you had players in the box who wanted to head the ball, Houthi, Shawcross, Fuller, people, John Walters, people of that ilk, who absolutely thrived on challenges in the box and winning headers. Why wouldn't you do it?
Well, you've got a right winger and a left winger, because we probably played 4-4-2 at the time.
But I had Pennant and Etherington.
But we're asking them to attack the fullback and put crosses in for your 2 centre forwards, the opposite wide man, and midfield play again in the box, all those things. Or you've got a fullback who goes on the overlap. What do you want him to do? You want him to put the ball in the box. I guarantee you, Rory could put the ball in places that they couldn't put it every single time. I used to throw it in. I could put it in into the 18-yard box. Places where, as you're running round somebody putting a cross in, if you get a free put-in into the box and you can deliver it like Rory Delap did, Why wouldn't you? And of course, it's coming back. It's
Well,
going round in
I
circles.
watched Brentford on Sunday or Saturday night. Sorry,
Yeah,
against
so did
Chelsea.
I, yeah.
And they caused Chelsea more problems from set plays than in free play.
Mind, I
really.
have to tell you, I'd be so disappointed with them lads who went to try and edit as well. So there's another point here.
Yeah,
so
no, we'll go on to that.
Can
later,
we go on to
Mick?
conceding from long throws?
Yeah, we'll go on to that later. But it's great credit to Brentford.
Yeah.
Again, they've got 2 or 3 people who can throw it that distance, and they want to win it. The great thing is as well is that they've got someone on the back post who's backing it up, and that was always so important with us when we were at Stoke. We always wanted to back play up with someone on the back post. So if someone gets a touch, as you know, we used to do near post corners as well, Mick. Any the slightest touch can put defenders off and leave forwards just to tap it in. And I was really pleased for Brentford.
There was a young flying winger at the far post that was absent without leave, I'm afraid, who'd come on. I'm not going to. Should I mention his name?
Go on.
Well, Garnacho comes on and creates a great chance.
And no one talks about.
No, he stood at the far post, and he has to stop that guy tapping it into the far post.
Yeah, but would you have your winger? Would I have Matt Everington or Pennant at the back post defending a long throw?
No, but you see, that's being pragmatic. You wouldn't do that. You'd have somebody. You'd have somebody who defends. Yes. Anyway,
yeah.
But there's 2 sides to it, isn't there? There's
the
throw in, which is great, but then defend it better. Get up and head it, and if you don't head it, you defend the far stick.
Yep, no, I totally agree. But it's
it's a weapon.
Set plays are fashionable. They weren't 15 years ago, Mick, but they've come round again. It's like Kempy. I spoke to Kempy the other week. David Kemp, who was my assistant, he's out in California. And then, how did
it go so wrong for him?
He was very fashionable, and we were talking about how football changed, how fashion comes round. And he says, "I've still got my bell bottoms." He says, "So all the suits that I've had for 30 years, I'm just bringing them back out." He said, "They look fresh and new, and they're fashionable."
He played for Portsmouth, Kempy, didn't he? I played against him.
Yeah, he said he scored a few goals against you the one day.
Did he? I'm glad he can remember.
That's put you on your back foot, Mick.
Well, listen, everybody I meet who I played against tells me that. So how the hell I had the career I had? He was the one always across the near post. Near post. Cross coming in, he'd try and drag you away. Near post. And I remember him, playing against him.
Yeah, he's watching him. He was a great goal scorer. And
Yeah,
he was great. He was great with the forwards. He was he talked about pragmatic. Kempy was black and white all the time, and he was always on about forwards with their shoulders. If you get your shoulders facing the goal, then if the ball hits you, the ball's going to go towards the goal. If you're flat or square, it's going to go away from the goal, not on the goal. And he'd spend ages talking to the forwards at all the clubs I've worked on, just saying, "Listen, lads, it's just common sense. Put your shoulders that way and the ball hits you. Where's it going to go? It's going to go that way, and that's where the goals are, and that's where we want you to put it." The other thing that's come into the game, Mick, is kickoffs, where they're now playing rugby style. Yeah, Arsene Wenger used to complain about us playing rugby style, but this time they're playing for touch. So they said, they're actually looking to kick the ball out in the final third. What's your thoughts on that?
So we're getting back to common sense and pragmatism, aren't we? We used to do it. The ball used to go back to the goalkeeper, and you would try and put it as far in that corner as you possibly could, and your centre forward would be chasing it. And if their centre half wins it, we're up behind it. We're pressing them right away. We get chances from it. If we don't, it goes out for a throw in. We're going to get somebody with a long throw and throw it in the box. That's within 30 seconds. So, well, Manchester City did it on Sunday, was it? Sunday, and had a chance from it almost straight away. So why wouldn't you do it? All this when you used to go back to the goalkeeper, then give it to the 2 centre halves, who are the least likely to cause any problem to the opposition with the ball. And then you have to pass through 10 players and the goalkeeper. You can bypass them into the corner, get a throw-in, get a corner, maybe get a free kick because the centre half jumps all over somebody and you get a free kick. Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you? And it's a real valuable weapon. And if you've got somebody who now can throw the ball in the box, you get a throw-in 10 yards out, they've got to defend a throw-in or a corner or a free kick.
No, kicking the ball out for me, I've got no problems with that. That's being smart, like you say, Mick. Then you're forcing the team, the opposition, to take a throw in their final third, which you can bank it in and make it very difficult for them to get out. I just don't. It's within the rules, and I think people, being smart and doing stuff like that always engages me. The big thing in football now is the goalkeeper falling down injured. And it's time wasting. A lot of managers now are complaining that goalkeepers are doing it on purpose. I think Eddie started it at Newcastle, where Pope went down quite a few times. I think it's smart. It's not against the rules. I think it's smart. He could break the game up against the bigger clubs.
But it's infuriating.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course it is. And I've got an answer to those questions. But I've seen it Saturday. With Chelsea, the Chelsea keeper goes down. 2 minutes later, he's getting up and kicking the ball 70 yards down the pitch. So people say, but it's not. It's infuriating. It's this, that, and the other. One way around it, and I'm only just throwing this out. I'm not a referee. I've never wanted to be a referee, and I've never wanted to put rules, forward on anything. To stop it, I would say that if a goalkeeper goes down once, and you have to get a trainer on to him, and then he gets up and stays on the pitch and is fine. If he does that twice in 5 games, then he should be suspended for the next game. And then that might stop it. Now, but I'm just throwing that out there. I'm sure there'll be millions of referees out there going, that's a load of nonsense. But sounds common sense to me, Nick.
What about having the substitute goalkeeper ready to go on? So if he does it twice, he'll say, right, you're off and we got to come on. I know, we get some great rules. The other thing about, of course, is sticking it in the corner, getting a throw in, getting a long throw or a corner kick. The way I see some defending against it,
Mick, they don't defend now.
well, it's that is. I mean, they're all got hold of each other, and they're all. There should be penalties given for some.
I thought they were bringing that in this
but they
year.
don't even face the ball.
Well, I watched the game again on Saturday, and we don't want to keep picking on different teams in this. I watched the game Saturday, and the referee can see someone who's actually grabbing someone with the back of his head for the corner kick taker.
Yeah,
and they fall down together, and they say, oh, well, they were both doing it. Well, the person running to attack the ball and facing the ball, I don't think is trying to do it. It's the person who's not facing the ball who pulls him down.
They're almost allowing them to do that because it's almost so complicated to pick out whether it is a penalty or not. But I think if they start giving penalties for it, people would have to mark properly again, up against them, go and head the ball. I know I'm an old fella, I know I'm an old curmudgeon, but I'm hating watching people drag people down, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. I think it's a disease that's got into the game over the past 4 or 5 years. And what is happening as well?
It's very subjective whether they give a penalty or not as well.
What is happening as well, Mick, is it highlights the fact that defenders who defend, and everybody wants one-on-one defending now. So defenders have to be, or centre halves have to be quick. If you're going to press people higher, the defenders have to be able to use their pace to, if they're caught one-on-ones.
It's interesting. I watched a bit of a Celtic cup final, or a semi-final that I played in. There was never one ball thrown out to the fullback at all. The keeper kicked both sides, by the way, just kicked the ball and we were heading it. Yeah, that doesn't happen now. It's in terms of players heading the ball, they don't do it as much.
And the other thing is, Mick, I think that the pitches are absolutely fantastic. The balls are lighter. The players are technically now can handle the ball. All the players can technically handle the ball. And it's a much more fluent game. I'd like to see it played quicker through the pitch. I'm a dinosaur in respect of centre-halves having it all the time. When I was younger, I used to want people at the top of the pitch to get it. I was a massive Man United supporter because my dad loved Man United. Give it to George Best.
I knew there was something I didn't like about it. But anyway.
Give it to George Best. It's like I used to say, Etherington and Pennant. They could play with the ball. They could do stuff. They could open doors up. Get the ball to them as quick as you can. And they get people off their seats.
Well, we had it at Wolves with Jarvis and Kitely. I know, does that resonate with George Best? Probably not. But at that time, let me tell you, they were absolutely brilliant. So exciting, created chances.
Balassi at Palace was just unbelievable that year that we stayed up. Yala had it just ripped people to bits, and it was one of them. It does get people off their seats.
It does,
but the game's changed, Mick, and we're two old codgers who were just seeing it from a different angle.
The Managers with Mick and Tony is powered by BOYLE Sports, the home of the early payout. And why is BOYLE Sports the home of the early payout? I hear you ask. Well, with BOYLE Sports, if your team goes 2 goals up, you win. Job done. You're getting paid out. Singles, ACCAs, bet builders, it's all covered. And this also means that we need to reconsider some crucial games across your careers, Mick and Tony. In fact, I'm going to take you back to the Britannia Stadium, Halloween 2009, the first time Mick McCarthy meets Tony Pulis in the Premier League. Stoke go 2-0 up, but Mick, your Wolves team come back, draw 2-2, and I'm sorry, Mick, I'm taking the point off you because of BOYLE Sports' new laws. I'm afraid Stoke won that game. Congratulations, Tony.
Thank you.
There you go. So get paid out as a winner if your team goes 2 goals ahead, even if they go on to win, lose or draw. 90 minutes only applies to singles and multiples. 18 plus, T's and C's apply. Back yourself with BOYLE Sports, the home of the early payout. Head to boylesports.com or download the app to find out more.
Tom, we've been talking about pragmatism and, playing and winning games, of course. I'm looking at Scotland, I'm looking at Celtic, who've gone to the top of the league, and they're very close to my heart, having played there. I'm Rangers, who apparently haven't won, or never done that in 50 years or something, not won any of the first 5 games. And Russell Martin is in charge there. Did a fabulous job at Southampton, getting them promoted, one of the best footballing teams in the Championship, but then continued to do it in the Premier League and was unsuccessful and then got sacked. I haven't seen how they're playing at Rangers, but I would imagine we talk about philosophy. If he's still doing that, got the same philosophy, you've got to change to win games. And like I said, I don't know whether that's the case, but I expected him to be doing better at Rangers than they are doing.
I haven't, I've got to be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Rangers this year. But if he is playing that way and they're not winning, then he's got to find a way to win, Mick. Otherwise, he's not going to be in a job for very long. And that's the cold facts. And he will understand that. He's been in the game long enough. He's managed quite a few clubs now. He'll realise and recognise that the pressure will really be on him and the directors, because Rangers will not accept the results they're getting at the moment.
No, not at all.
They will not accept
it. Not at all. But I mean, we've seen it with other teams that have got promoted to the Premier League and then want to play like the Premier League.
Yeah.
And of course, I think we talked about it the last time. The teams that had adapted were certainly Brighton, Brentford, Nottingham Forest,
Bournemouth.
And yet Nottingham Forest, they've changed the managers. You got him into Europe and he's out of a job.
I think you mentioned it the other week that it didn't look right there. It didn't sound right. I think last year, if you go back to last year,
I tipped him to get beat because of the atmosphere there.
When the chairman walked on the pitch and give the manager a telling off in front of, 30,000 people, that didn't look good. And would you have accepted that? I'm not sure I would have. And it's just rolled on from there, I think. I think Nuno hasn't been over-enamelled with maybe the recruitment side of it. Again, someone in between the manager and the chairman, or the coach and the chairman, who's making decisions that affect the manager and affect the first team. We don't really know. I'm just surmising that. But obviously after how many games? 4 games. He gets 5 games. He gets sacked.
We both know if you're going to get the sack, it's much better getting the sack when you've got the team into the Europe the year before, like Ange getting them into the Champions League and Nottingham Forest getting into the European football.
It's going to be interesting to see how Ange changes it, because Nuno was very, very organised in respect of the team played deep. They didn't allow teams to play through them quickly. They sat in there and they counter-attacked. They had a big wood up front. They smashed angle balls up to him, got it wide. They had real good pace wide and counter-attacked and scored lots of goals from set plays and also, quick football. What I call quick, decisive football.
He's great. We had him on loan, and over the last few years, he's done better than ever he did early on, and yet he looked like he was going to be a top player, and he's turned out to be. So I'm delighted for him.
Yeah, he certainly picked the baton up.
But it will be interesting to see how Ange plays, because he, at Tottenham, they're up on the halfway line pressing, and they had quick defenders. will they adapt? Can he adapt in terms of playing
What they are.
a different way?
Yeah, like you say, there's that changeover again where he's got a different set of players, and a different set of players. Can they?
Yeah.
You know,
I wouldn't judge him on the Arsenal game. First game in, they've got Arsenal away, we'd tip them to win that game anyway because of what had happened. So turning that around was always going to be difficult. But I wish him well. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
So Tom, we talked about management, managing players, and I said to you earlier on, we need to be managed as well because, if the manager's allowed to do just what he wants, to a point, he's got to be doing that in terms of signing players and what have you. But he needs to be managed. But then you don't need to be micromanaged. You don't need somebody above you telling you what to do and how you should do it.
So where do you draw the line?
Well, you tell me. Come on, where have you experienced it?
I think it happens more now because of the people who are involved.
We don't have to say where and embarrass anybody.
No, but where we were, and especially early on in my career, we actually run the football side of it. We picked people, we picked the team. Nobody interfered, Mick. It was
same as me.
Same as me. Nobody.
In fact, all the way through my career.
Yeah, and me. Nobody crossed those lines. But today, you've got obviously directors of football. You've got chief executives. You've got this going on. You've got that going on. You've got 1 million people in recruitment doing stuff. So there's a lot of stuff now going on for a manager or a coach to deal with. The line for me would have been always that if you get a phone call and someone says, I want him to play, or I need him to play, or I don't want him to play. And so they're actually affecting your decision on what is your big day, and that is match day. And that always was a red line for me, Mick.
Yeah, I've had it where it's been, let's just say it's been known that they would prefer if somebody wasn't playing. And to be fair, if that's said to me or even intimated to me, that player's going to play all the more anyway. So I'd be digging my heels in. But I have to say, throughout my career, I had a really good relationship with most of them.
Yeah.
And I certainly had a working relationship with all of them, all the chairmen, all the people who run the clubs. And I was very lucky in that respect.
I think that is so. It used to be the relationship between the manager then and the chairman was paramount, really, to the success of the football club that you got on the pitch.
It usually helps if you're winning games, Tom.
Well,
and
again, I was just going to say that. So if you're winning, it's all hunky dory. As soon as you start losing, I had Steve Gibson, who was absolutely fantastic for me, and Peter Coates, and I can go on and on and on about. Jeremy, I got on really well with Jeremy at West Brom as well. I always thought.
So the ones you've left out, they'll all be scratching their heads thinking, did I have a good relationship?
Yeah, I've had, I think, 10 different clubs, so I can't remember all the blinking chairman. But if you have a good relationship with them, and a good relationship, Mick, is also them pulling you up and actually saying, I'm not sure what you're doing there, or I'm not sure what you're doing this and this, that. And you then having to explain.
Is this in terms of the football you're playing?
No.
Or signings, or how you've managed something?
Everything. I signed Peter Crouch at Stoke for 10 million from Tottenham. And there was one person, it wasn't my chairman, but there was one person who questioned the decision to sign him on the basis that Crouchy was 28, I think, 29 years of age. And paying that money, we wouldn't get a return. Someone had put that question to Peter. Peter rang me up, Peter Coates, who like his Coates family are unbelievable people. He rang me up, Peter, and he said, Tom, I've just got one question. Now, I know it wasn't him, it was someone else, but someone had questioned him and said, that 10 million, you're never going to get it back. And I said, Peter, that 10 million, you're going to get it tenfold, because Peter Crouch will keep us in the Premier League for the next 4 years. As soon as I said that, Mick, Peter went, thank you, Tone, put the phone down, deal done.
Well, that was nice. That was nice to have that relationship with your chairman. And I've met the Coates family. They are fabulous people, I know. But when you're getting questioned, I'm listening to you talk about Crouch. I'm thinking, that'll get paid back by staying in the Premier League or scoring the goals and playing well.
He's a fabulous person as well, Mick. Absolutely, top. He brought it up another level, and not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. Because the players gyrated around him. He's such a big cat. Well, big character, not just a big person, but a big character as well. And, such a funny lad. Great, a lot of time for Crouchy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Mick, being a northern lad, a Yorkshire lad, what do you make of Sheffield United? Let's not go Sheffield Wednesday at the moment. We'll leave that for another day. But what about Sheffield United?
Well, it's no surprise to see that Selles was sacked after the game on Friday night, Ipswich. I mean, Ipswich were brilliant, I have to say. It turned out they were brilliant. Sheffield United started well.
I didn't think they were brilliant at the beginning.
No, they weren't. Sheffield United looked like they were going to, upset the apple cart and maybe get a result there. Goals changed games, and Ipswich absolutely battered them and played very well then. But why was Chris disposed of, sacked in the first place? I mean, I watched the game against Sunderland.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I was delighted Sunderland won and they're back in the Premier League. But up until a couple of mistakes in the game that cost them, Sheffield United were brilliant. They should have been home and hosed in the game, out of sight, and they weren't. So that's not somebody who's lost the players or he's lost the crowd or he shouldn't be there, Chris Wilder. Sacking him was just a bonkers decision for me because you still think he's got those players. He'll still be in the top 6. He'll still be chasing it this year. And then to employ somebody who, I don't know what his record's like, so I'm not going to dismiss. Is it Ruben Selles? I'm not going to dismiss him. But then to go back to Chris, having tried somebody else, it just seems very strange.
I think Chris
he's a Sheffield lad. He's a Sheffield fan.
I think he's got a lot of balls to go back. If someone has done that to you, and then brilliant for the club and the owners to admit they've made a mistake. But then for Chris to have the balls to go back and say, right, I'm going to get back in there and I'm going to turn this round. I think he's the right person again.
Yeah.
I like Chris. Got a lot of time for Chris. He didn't do that brilliant at one or two of his clubs, but he always seems to be, it's that club again. Sheffield United, those two, it looks such a great marriage.
It's a good relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, and relationship with the supporters as well. So, I just see them picking up now. He knows the players. The players know him. I don't think there's been a great change in the playing staff. So, fingers crossed it all goes well and they get up and running again.
Well, in terms of it, you look at the reaction players would have when they've been in that playoff game. Do you think they all came off when they'd lost and they've not going to the Premier League? Did they all come off and go, I'm not happy with the manager, not happy with Chris, Everything he'd done up until that point was as good as any, well, except for the two that get promoted in front. He gets into the playoffs. They lose the playoffs. Shouldn't have done. It just felt like a ridiculous decision to me.
I think there's another caveat to that as well. And I'm not sure on this, but I think they got more points than any other club in the Championship, finishing third. So their record of points during that 46-game season was just unbelievable, really. And they were so unlucky that Burnley and Leeds had been outstanding as well. So you had three teams well over 90 points or whatever it was. And that again should have been taken into consideration.
Unfortunately for Chris, all right, he's back in now. I wonder if he's banked his compensation from the first one. I don't know.
I'll give him a ring later and find
Let's
out.
See. He's a good guy, Chris, I know.
Yeah, you look at the teams. We talked about Sheffield United and how well they did last year, and then the poor start they've had this season. There's a lot of people talking about Villa, about the fact that, again, last year they were absolutely outstanding with, the way they played and the results they got. They dipped at the end a little bit, but they've started not so well this year. And I think I mentioned to you last week, Mick, the manager looked empty. I've seen a couple of his interviews, and we get it. People don't understand the amount of pressure and the amount of energy that you need to run football clubs and to run teams, especially at the top level. It's consistently difficult, whichever way you cook it. You win a game, and then that lasts for about a couple of hours, and you're on to the next game. You lose a game, and it's pressure on straight away. And he just looked... He didn't look as bright and as bubbly and as on it as what he did last season. hopefully, fingers crossed. They had a good result at Everton on Saturday. That's a good point at Everton. They'll manage to to turn it round, because he's got a fantastic record of managing, especially in Europe.
Yeah.
Up until this point, he's done brilliant at Villa.
Is it funny? He said we spoke last time, and you're just saying there he looked empty in his, And I joked about, it's always when they're doing well, you can always understand them a bit better. But it's horrible to see when you see somebody who looks like they've been drained.
Yeah.
And I think you can get your mojo back during the season, providing the clubs, the people who are running them, fans are willing to tolerate, because of what he's done in the past, and understand that, he might be feeling knackered, he might be feeling a bit under the cosh, it might be tough for him, but he's done it, and he's been as good as anybody over the last how many years at Aston Villa. But I don't know. They're not very patient, are they? We're not very patient as football.
It's interesting. You're making me think now. I watched a couple of interviews with Pep last year, and Pep looked as though he'd aged about 30 years. That's the first time in his management career I think he's had a dip. And I actually like the fellow. I think I've sat down and eaten with him, and he did a great interview about the academy in the program I did for Sky TV. He was absolutely fantastic. But I actually looked at him and had a smile and thought, welcome to the game. I said, didn't I, last week? Welcome to the game, Pep. This is what happens when you lose a bit and lose and lose and lose. And they obviously they don't lose too many, but he had that spell where it wasn't going well for him, and it was it was interesting to see it.
It's a lot easier for the lads whose first language isn't English. And I know it's happened where guys have come in and they've had interpreters and they can speak perfect English, but they don't want to speak to the journalists. And how it sounds a lot different when they're going well as when it's going badly. Hey, maybe we do. I think we get a bit grumpy.
Well, you're Irish, I'm Welsh.
Of course, yes.
We could have spoken Welsh in Irish, Mick, and they wouldn't have.
But going back to Villa and Unai Emery, I mean, he has been terrific as a manager, terrific for Aston Villa. Yeah, but he needs to get some results, because otherwise he'll be under cosh like everybody else.
I think he's got a bit in the bank. I think there's quite a bit in the bank there, and they're in Europe as well. So, and his record in Europe is actually fantastic.
Yeah, the problem is when the teams go away in Europe are they playing on Wednesday night, Thursday night?
No, it'll be Wednesday. I think is it Wednesday or Thursday?
Well, we both know though, if you're away on Wednesday or Thursday night and playing, when you come back, the chances of you winning that game are reduced.
I've experienced it with Stoke, Mick, and it's, as you say, it's very, very difficult to get the lads back up then for a Sunday game, especially if you're away from home.
Yeah.
Especially if you're away from home.
The Managers with Mick and Tony is powered by BOYLE Sports, the home of the early payout. And why is BOYLE Sports the home of the early payout, I hear you ask? Well, with BOYLE Sports, if the team you back goes 2 goals up, you win, job done, you're getting paid out. Singles, ACCAs, bet builders, it's all covered. And this means we need to reconsider a crucial game in your career, Tony. I'm talking, of course, about the 1999 playoff final, when your Gillingham team were 2 goals up with 5 minutes to play. Obviously, that means, in the eyes of BOYLE Sports, you have now won the Second Division playoff final, 1999. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And also, West Ham won the 2006 FA Cup final, which is great, and commiserations to Liverpool for not winning the 2005 Champions League. And obviously, now Gillingham have won the 1999 Second Division playoff final. Commiserations to Nicky Weaver and Manchester City. Yes, get paid out as a winner if your team goes 2 goals ahead, even if they win, lose or draw. 90 minutes only. Applies to singles and multiples. 18 plus. T's and C's apply. Back yourself with BOYLE Sports, the home of the early payout. Head to boylesports.com or download the app to find out more.
Right, Tom, we're into predictions. We're doing all right, actually. It was 2-2 the first week and 3-3 the second week. So we're drawing, which sounds a bit like us, doesn't it, to be fair?
I'll take a point away from home, Mick.
Absolutely. So who have you got first one?
First one, I'm going Sheffield United. New manager, Chris going in there against Charlton. I watched Charlton on Saturday. I was really, really impressed. I think Nathan's done a great job there. Absolutely fantastic job. So I'm just going because I think the crowd will be 110% up for that one, and they'll push Sheffield United on for a victory.
Well, I really like Nathan. I have a really great relationship with him since falling out with him when he was at Charlton and I was at Ipswich and everywhere else. He's done a great job, but Sheffield United getting Chris Wilder back, come on. The crowd will be up for it. The players will be up for it. They need to get going. I can't see anything other than a win for Sheffield United.
Right, moving on. My old club, Portsmouth, against Sheffield Wednesday. Portsmouth had a great result yesterday against Southampton. They could have won it as well. They had periods in the game where they could have won the game, although Southampton did come strong second half. And they play Sheffield Wednesday. There's turmoil at Sheffield Wednesday. I don't think anybody knows exactly what's going on there. But Pompey at home with their supporters, the supporters are unbelievable at Portsmouth. That ground, that old stand actually still rocks, Mick, with the supporters when they get going. And I see Pompey winning that game.
Well, I hate to be a follower of Tony Pulis, but I'm exactly the same. We'll have to explain to people that these were written down without any knowledge from each
No,
other's
he was looking
choice.
at it. I'm going to tell them now. I'm going to tell everyone out there. Mick was looking over my shoulder.
That's why I was good in the air. I got a long neck. I was looking over. But I took Portsmouth. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday are 23rd. They're struggling like hell. Players leaving. Everything seems to be going wrong with them. They're 23rd in the league. Portsmouth are doing all right. They're 9th. And for all those reasons, I'd like to be able to tell you all the players and how they play. I can't. But this is the management aspect of it. Sheffield Wednesday travelling down to Portsmouth is going to be one tough game. Fancy Portsmouth.
My third one, Mick, is Birmingham against Swansea. I'm going against, the first Welsh club this weekend. I just fancy Birmingham. I think they've had a couple of sticky results away from home. They're back on home soil. And with the crowd, I think they've sold all their season tickets. They're all sold out. Every weekend they're sold out, and I just see a very, very strong response. I don't think they play that badly at Stoke, but got beat 1-0. So yeah, I just fancy him to get the result over Swansea on Saturday. Fair
dues. Well, I've took a chance here because I'm not because it's a chance because of the team. Cardiff, of course, having been there, had a great affinity with them. Until I left, I got the sack, of course, and then maybe their affinity with me was different. But anyway, I'm taking Cardiff to beat Bradford, and the first and second in the league, but they're flying. And Brian Barry Murphy's got them absolutely flying. It seems to be he's got them, and it's such a good club. If you get that club going, the crowd get behind you. And I'm not bothered that Bradford are in second spot. I'm taking Cardiff. See if they can win.
I can't go against that one, Mick. And we'll get another Welsh club involved in this one because I really do fancy Norwich against Wrexham. I think Norwich have picked up of late. Going to Carrow Road is so difficult. Wrexham have had a little bit of a sticky time so far, and I think it's going to be a massive challenge for them. I've just got a feeling Norwich will win that game.
Well, I hope they do anyway, because Liam Manning was a coach of mine, and because Fran Manning was my PA. So I've got a lot of love for them, and I hope they win. I haven't got a lot of love for Norwich, that's for sure. Yeah. But anyway, that's another matter. I'm going to go with, the Norwich's nearest and dearest. I've got Ipswich, and I've gone for an away win, which I'm taking a bit of a risk there, aren't I? I'm going Ipswich to beat Blackburn at Blackburn. Based on the fact I watched them against Sheffield United on Friday night, and from a tough start, I thought they were brilliant. And by the way, they've got some players. They've signed a lot of really good players. Yeah. So I'm taking them for an away win.
Well, again, it'll be interesting to see how those results go, Mick, and whether we're sat in here next week we'll either draw in or one of us winning.
Tell me, how quickly do you check them?
Straight away.
Absolutely, so do I. I never thought I was so competitive, though.
No, not me. So if you go with my picks, the odds are £10 returns, £94.89p, including the ACCA boost.
And if you go with my picks, £10 returns £101.36, including the ACCA boost. Head to boylesports.com to find out more.
18 plus, T's and C's apply.
Thanks very much for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you've got any questions for us, don't forget to leave them.